How you doing, everybody? My name is Dean Olson. I am a songwriter, radio host, and producer from Orange County, California. And I'm really just an average guy who loves to make music. But when I get behind a microphone and talk to people, I become the StrongWriter on the radio, helping songwriters and artists keep musically fit. And the way I love to do that is through faith and hope and encouragement, by taking in the stories and experiences told to me by my wonderful guests, and by learning from the best in the business and passing it along to you. And now I want to welcome you to another beautiful day for a fantastic show. And today I want to set my sights on the state of West Virginia, almost heaven, I once heard. And I'm looking forward to meeting my esteemed musical guest right here and right now. The man you're seeing on the screen with me, if you're watching the simulcast, it is singer, musician, and songwriter CHRIS HADDOX. He writes from his heart and life experiences and plays it in a kind of bluegrassy, folk-sounding way, Americana, as we were discussing earlier. His self-titled debut album comes out on March 25th, 2022. It is my pleasure to extend a hearty virtual handshake to Mr. CHRIS HADDOX.
Hey, Dane. Thanks for having me. It's nice to meet you.
How's that? I almost blew the intro there when I was stumbling over. That's why I try to get jacked up so I have a little bit of energy, and then
sure, I get you.
Maybe I can find out a little tiny bit about you. You're from West Virginia. You were born and raised?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was born in a place called Logan, West Virginia, which is down in the southern part of the state. And
okay.
If people have heard anything about West Virginia, they've probably heard of the Hatfields and McCoys. And that's down in that country. It's coal mining country and very steep mountainous terrain, and just beautiful place in my estimation.
Coal country, right? Isn't that where the
coal
miners?
Yes,
sir.
Yeah, it's unionization efforts in the Battle of Blair Mountain. So there's been a lot of history down there on the coal front.
Yeah, you would think in today's times it's things have changed a lot, but it's still kind of. Is it still kind of a struggling town, those coal towns?
Well, they are struggling now, yeah. I mean, when I was growing up, it was a booming economy. I mean, coal was huge, and my family were not miners. My dad was a dentist, and I could kind of judge the economy by how busy his dental practice was. Uh-huh. I didn't realize that at the time, but as I look back on it now and look at different phases of my life, and he went from a 3-chair practice to an 8-chair practice and down to where he could probably keep 1 chair busy,
Oh, nice.
over the course of my growing up and getting out of college. So yeah, it was interesting. So there's still a lot of coal mining there, still a lot of coal coming out, but mechanization, it just does not employ the numbers that it used to, and the economy is not nearly what it once was.
Yeah. How far Logan from like where you are now in Morgantown?
I'm 220 miles.
Okay, so
220 miles north.
Apple didn't fall and roll too far away from the tree then, I guess, huh?
No, and it's very similar. There's a strong coal economy up here as well. This is in northern coal fields, and but it's very different terrain physically. And Morgantown, I'm in a university town, so there's a lot more diversity.
Yeah,
that a university brings.
And I noticed that as I was listening to your album, there's a lot of West Virginia in it. There's a little. Sometimes you mention the towns, and other times you're talking about the redbud trees that are blooming at a certain time, and they should be coming out sooner or later, right?
Before too long, yeah. They're a harbinger of spring for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that in a few minutes, because it's interesting when I get to talk to somebody who writes his own songs and plays many instruments, and is having a debut album at the age you are. Do you mind telling the people how old you are, sir?
Yeah. Oh, I'm 61.
Oh,
61
good.
61 years old. Yeah.
Now, what took you so long? This is a debut album for you. So what's going on here?
Indecision, I guess. I mean, I left when I was 21, I left college to move to Nashville, and I wanted to be a professional songwriter, and college had nothing to do with that. And, so I started out on the chasing dream a long time ago. I never really had any goals of being a performer. I just wanted people to come to me for songs. And, that really didn't work out that way. And I kept writing, and probably 5 or 6 years ago, I became very deliberate about just getting out and performing my own material. I mean, I play banjo and fiddle, and I play for square dances. So I'd play a lot of live music. but I wasn't really doing my original music so much. And I just thought, well, I'm just going to get out there and start singing my songs and see what the reaction is. And the reaction was good, and we had some venues that supported kind of original music nights, and it worked out. And caught the attention of Ron Soul, who produced my album, and he really nurtured me along and asked me why I didn't have any albums to bring, to an event. And I said, well, because I don't have any albums to bring to an event.
Yeah.
And he basically said, well, we're gonna change that. I think your stuff needs to be out there. It's really good. So.
Oh, well, nice. That's how these stories start. Somebody discovers or gets. Not everybody will take to you, but one guy saw some gold there. It always takes a producer or somebody like that with a vision that maybe you see as well, but you kind of shared a little bit of a spark there, right? That can happen.
I mean, he was very encouraging. He's just a gem of a guy, and has worked with a lot of West Virginia musicians, and just very nurturing. And said, send me after this gig that he invited me to, and it went well. He had no idea if I had one more song or 50 more songs, as I tell people. So he said, send me more stuff and let me hear what you have. And after 20 or 25 songs or so, he said, well, I think you need an album, and I'd like to do it for you. And
what was he hearing? Did you have demos, things that you recorded, or
he just he said nope. He said turn on your phone and just do a voice memo, just you and your guitar, and let me hear the lyrics and let me hear the melody, and don't send me anything that because I had things that I had done in the studio, stuff like that for other projects, but he said I just want to hear it as raw as it can be. And he heard enough and came back and said, boy, here, I like it, and here's the 12 or 13 songs that really resonated with me, and I think These would make a good listen, and let's do it.
That's cool. Well, that's great. That's it. That's pretty much you had some technology there involved with the phone there, but it could have been just a story could have been written some time ago with the regular phone. Just set the handset down. I'm going to play my guitar right in the
playing it over the phone, or playing on a cassette. That's still the phone's even a little intimidating.
Yeah,
I like the old cassette player where you can just pop it in front of you.
Yeah, but I do that. Most of my interviews were done, either in person or over the telephone. But I like doing this. This is like kind of Jetson style. Do the little Zoom thing. Yeah,
nice to see each other. Yeah,
yeah, it is fun. A little bit of lo-fi quality type of thing, but it's still a lot of fun. I get to meet a lot of people. All you got to do is take maybe a little hour out of your day, and then you can go do your show at night, or and in your case, it's probably sun's probably going down soon, and in West Virginia, there was a 3 hours difference, maybe.
Yeah. It's 5 o'clock here.
Yeah,
5:10, whatever. So it's getting a little longer every day, but sun will be down before long.
And all this time, I'm thinking, okay, well, you've just been off and on musician, but you got to hold down a job. What kind of career did you make for yourself in between?
Well, I've done a bunch of different things, and I've repaired. I had a musical instrument repair business and buy and sell instruments, and I was the director of Habitat for Humanity here in Morgantown for pushing 10 years on that, and then I've been here at West Virginia University this is my 14th year here. And of course, when I was in Nashville, I was just working whatever jobs I could find to pay the rent.
Oh,
so it's been, I have a short attention span. I got about a 10-year attention span.
So. Man, we could have an attention span off, because that's me too. I can focus when I really have to, but we get to talking about instruments, and all of a sudden we talk about the redbud trees. Next thing you know, I'm off on that.
Right.
A little bit like that. It's all in fun, and I'm glad that I was just thinking about, for instance, the square dance that you mentioned. That sounds like high energy stuff, and a lot of fun. So you got to. How many piece band plays at the square dance? I was assuming you had record albums, playing.
Sometimes it's a fiddle and a guitar. Sometimes it's a fiddle and a banjo. Sometimes it's fiddle, guitar, banjo, bass. Just kind of depends on the setting, but sometimes it's just a fiddle. I mean, a good fiddler and a good caller can hold down a dance. So it's we have a really good old time music scene here in West Virginia, and lots of great fiddlers, and so it's really fun to get to do a dance. A lot of great callers. I mean, it's a real high energy kind of thing, and very interactive with the dancers, and it's I don't know, it's a neat experience.
It is, yeah. And the music you play, at least on the album, this is my exposure to it. Has a nice, I'm going to use a stupid term. It's a throwback feel. It makes it feel like harkens back to a simpler time. Even though you're playing in a modern setting,
right.
These all sound like they could have been done like 40, 50 years ago.
Oh, good. I like that. Yeah, I try to write songs that feel like they've been around for a while.
Yeah. This is
of course, on this production, there's a lot of percussion, which I normally don't play with. I mean, so that was kind of a shock to me, when Ron was throwing out these ideas, and that was one of the hurdles we had to get over, was getting me used to that much sound, and because I usually play with just a bass and another guitar and a mandolin and a fiddle or something. So, but
you got to keep the rhythm somehow. So that was just adding to it. Yeah. So when you don't
great,
when you don't have cajones or whatever, like things to beat on or slapping your thighs or whatever you're keeping time with, spoons, and right. I'm thinking of the old days, but that's a lot of foot tapping in a square dance. You have to make do with what you have if there's no drummer or anything like that. Somebody's got to keep time, but
right.
In this case, and you had some. Not every track had all the same instruments. Sometimes you incorporate. I think I heard like a clarinet in there and some.
We ran the gamut. I mean, the most stripped down. There's one kind of gospel piece that's just a guitar and a mandolin and a couple of vocals, and then there's one that's an open back banjo and cello and two vocals. And then all the way to tubas and clarinets and everything, every other kind of thing that you could throw in the mix.
Now tell me something. Now, without naming any, I wrote down some of the titles here. Okay, He Reeled Me In. That's a little bit off the beaten path of all the other ones. This had a little bit more of a. There was some tuba, some
There's tuba, some great clarinet, and it's a carnival. It's about a carnival.
Since we're talking about that, I told you I was going to get off on tangents here and there, but I just figured we naturally start talking about the stuff. But He Reeled Me In is basically you took your kids to a county fair. That's what the story is.
Took them to a county fair, and I told them, I said, hey, we're not going to load up on junk food, and don't make eye contact with any of the carnival barkers. and as soon as we started walking down the midway, the opening line of the song is, did that nose come with the glasses? And that's exactly what one of the carnival I looked over and we made eye contact, and that came out of his mouth. And I just, I grabbed my kids and we went on by, and there's some fabrication in what happened after that. But
okay.
But it was it was still just that idea of like, oh my God, that guy just really got me. I just broke both my rules when I looked him in the eye and we went and got a bunch of junk food.
It's basically a true story, but embellished for dramatic
it's embellished for the storytelling, but
sure, that's what they do.
The line is true. The line is true. It started off on. So that was fun.
Did that nose come with glasses? That Parker said to me. I pulled my kids real close and I walked on by. Then I got jacked up on funnel cakes and I said, let's go and see if your old man still has an arm and has an eye. Oh Lord, he got me. He reeled me in. He cast that bait right in front of me, and then he watched me make a pass and he watched me circle around again. Then he set that hook and he reeled me in. He smiled when he saw me coming and he said, let's make a deal. You buy 6 balls, I'll throw in 4, that'll make it 10. And then he held up this big panda bear and he looked right at my kids. Said, with balls like your dad's got, how can he not win? Oh Lord, he got me. He reeled me in. He cast that bait right in front of me, and then he watched me make a pass and he watched me circle round again. Then he set that hook and he reeled me in. my balls and I cleared my throat and made a little space. I wound up real big and I let that first one fly. And my daughter started crying and my son just hid his face when the last one, like the first 9, came up dry. And that carny feigned some sympathy and he offered this advice: man, it helps to aim for what you're trying to hit. Then his lips curled into an evil grin and he knew he'd caught me twice when I peeled 3 more 20s from my clip. Oh Lord, he got me, he reeled me in. He cast that bait right in front of me and then he watched me make a pass and he watched me circle round again. Then he set that hook and he reeled me in. Now up and down the midway, they were watching one and all, and an eerie silence settled on the place. But I focused like a laser, and on every target saw a picture of that carny smirking face. And I finally threw a money ball, and that bear was mine to take. And my kids were proud to call me dad again. But the wife was none too happy when she learned I'd paid that snake $80 when I could have just bought us 2 for 10. Oh Lord, he got me, he reeled me in. He cast that bait right in front of me and then he watched me make a pass and he watched me circle round again. Then he set that hook and he reeled me in. Hey, did that nose come with the glasses? That Barker said to me.
In the Appalachian Mountains, I always, there's lots of storytellers who, sometimes the tales get taller when.
Sure, yeah.
Depending on how old the guy is telling them, but that's a lot of fun. I don't know. I don't know why I picked that one out of there, but the remainder of the songs though have a nice. I don't know. I was calling it kind of a bluegrassy folk. We were talking about Americana. I always put air quotes around Americana because Americana doesn't seem to fit one particular genre. It's like, let's throw them all in the hopper there. And
I'm not really sure what that means either. Don't worry too much about it.
But if you want to go by the true definition of Americana, that's what it feels like to me. Yours is truly sounding like a little slice of heaven there in West Virginia. So
it's a wonderful place. It gets dragged through the mud a lot, but I don't think you can name a place that doesn't have its upsides and its downsides. And West Virginia is a beautiful place. The people are wonderful, and we've got some antiquated ways to do things that sometimes aren't so great. But it's
perhaps I think every state does. Yeah, but West Virginia seems to be a punching bag throughout the years. For certain political.
It does.
Punchlines and things like that.
Don't get me started on the politics. It's horrible.
Well, that being said, what I said, you're basically a good spokesman for your, for the state you live in, because hey, you give a little bit of the darker side and the brighter side. There's a lot of bright side to it. So I get very optimistic. If this was my semi-fictional, non-fictional account of what your state is like and what life is like for you growing up there, makes me want to go tour the place, drive up I-79 and see what's going on.
Come on over. Come on out. Yeah, come on out.
Yeah.
I think you'll like it.
Since I mentioned that particular interstate, that was one of your songs that you were talking about, the lament of that cemetery, right?
So we go from a carnival atmosphere to a lamentation.
Yeah.
And it really
was it Hammond, or how do you say that? Is it Hammond?
Yeah,
Cemetery.
Yeah, and and that's kind of there is the Hammond Cemetery. But there are plenty little cemeteries. Interstate 79 cut right through the middle of West Virginia, and as I was learning to drive and then going back and forth to college, I was just seeing this landscape that's very different again from where I'm from. It's more rolling and kind of pastoral, not nearly as steep and mountainous. and these big old farms and these farmhouses and these little family cemeteries that were very remote, all of a sudden are now within eyesight and earshot of the 4-lane, and including one of my family cemeteries that, I visited as a young kid. And of course, as a kid, I was like, what are we doing out here? Why are we going to see cemeteries? And, years later, I'm driving down the interstate and I'm like, man, I think that's my family cemetery right there over on that hillside that I visited that took hours to get to when I was a kid, and now here I'm zipping past it at 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So it's really just kind of a lamentation for the changing landscape. And very different feel than he reeled me in,
Yes, exactly.
They laid me down in some family ground, 1901, in a spot that overlooked the farm and caught the rising sun. They'd visit me on Sunday upon that quiet hill. It seemed a place removed from time, but time is never still. Now the 4-lane runs beside what used to be my resting place. Farm is gone, 100 homes are taking up the space. I'm lying here where I've been for years, but it's not the same. A soul can't rest in peace beside the 4-lane. Well, there was a day when the big highway didn't make it out this far, when the country road knew the wagon load long before the car, when the whining of the 18 wheels didn't pierce the silence of these hills, and the only lights in the sky at night were God's own stars. Now the 4-lane runs beside what used to be my resting place. The farm is gone, 100 homes are taking up the space. I'm lying here where I've been for years, but it's not the same. A soul can't rest in peace beside the 4-lane. I can't recall the last time someone came to say hello. You can't stop on the 4-lane, and the old path's overgrown. I know they have to see the stones as they fly by on their race. Do they wonder why there sits a grave in such a busy place?
When I said in the intro that you write from your heart, that's what I'm thinking. Is this sort of like the what are these souls who are under the ground feeling now when progress happens and all this noise going by? And
my quiet resting spot, that I thought, is all of a sudden there's semis zipping by 24/7, 50 feet away. I don't know, it just struck me. It's funny. Some people hear these and they think, man, you're really angry. I'm like, well, I'm not angry. I'm just making a commentary, I'm just observing things and maybe, longing for a way of life. I'm not anti-progress or anything like that, but sometimes I wonder, is that really progress? I don't know.
No, that's
true.
Try
to tell stories. That's what I try to do.
That's what I was getting. Yeah, I have that reflex too, where I think, oh no, these guys, whoever I'm seeing, the minute they get a little bit preachy or something like that, I think they're angry. But no, you just got to go with it. We're all like that. Everybody's got an opinion. Some of us hold back, and some of us don't. And it's and you seem to do it in a nice poetic way. So
No, thank you.
I don't feel angry when I listen to these things.
Good.
Just in general about this thing. So you were mentioning Ron Soul. We talked a little bit about him. He produced the album. All the songs are original ones written by you.
Correct.
Right. And how'd you come by and gather all these players that were on the album? Because I think you have.
Oh, that's Ron. Yeah. I mean, I knew some of those folks. Yeah. So Ron, basically, when he pitched the idea of doing an album, he said, look, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to pick the songs. I'm going to pick the musicians. I'm going to pick the studios. I'm going to do the arrangements. And, and you're going to show up and
give me the money
to do. And it's going to be really good.
Yeah. And it's not free, so you're going to give him the money, I was saying. Yeah.
That's not in a mean way at all, and as we got into it, I think Ron realized that maybe I wasn't, as wet behind the ears musically as he was maybe thinking I was. And so we were able to have good discussions about arrangements and, hey, maybe this, maybe that works, maybe that doesn't. So we had a lot of dialogue. But Ron, again, he's been in the music scene for so long in West Virginia, and he just knows, through his position on Mountain Stage as well as just his other projects, he knows these musicians. I've got some really great musicians up here, so it's not hard to find a really good player on any instrument in West Virginia. It's crazy for such a small place how many really stellar musicians there are. We could have added 30 more pickers that were just as good, if we wanted to. That's not something you have to worry about here. And the studios were great. We had to go to 5 different studios because of COVID. We got 3 days of doing basic tracks in, and then some winter weather caught us, and then COVID caught us, and we just the brakes went on, and so we had to really adjust the game plan, and it added, easily added 14 months to the project, So
that sounds like what I've been hearing from other people too. So.
Yeah. But Ron, you did kept the energy up. Yeah, we stayed focused. We had a little bit of derailed a little bit, but got back on track and made it happen. So
great. It does sound good. You play guitar, fiddle, all these stringed instruments. How much is you on these recordings, and how much is the other people?
It's not. I'm playing rhythm guitar. I'm playing the banjo, and of course singing. I do some of the lead. Picking. My buddy John does most of the lead acoustic work on a couple songs, then Johnny Stats on the mandolin. Of course, we have a lot of dobro and fiddle and mandolin doing most of the lead work. So I'm not doing any of that.
The mandolin is a nice touch. It gives a if you take that out, it doesn't have the exact same feel. Some of those songs call for it.
Yeah, he's such a killer player. He's that good on fiddle. He's that good on guitar. He's that good on mandolin. We could have just turned him loose on everything, probably.
Maybe. Open back banjo is one of those things that stands out. Now, what's the difference between just like your the regular banjo that you're seeing in the open back? It has a different sound.
Well,
obviously.
so a bluegrass banjo, they're both banjos, same instrument, but a bluegrass banjo typically has what's called a resonator on the back of it. So a reflector, if you will. It looks like a big pie shell, a big wooden rim that's on the back, and it really serves as a reflector for the sound to shoot it back out. And people play in a 3-finger style, what they'll often call Scruggs style after Earl Scruggs. So they're using a thumb pick and 2-finger picks, and there's all these rolling patterns. Whereas I'm playing, so the banjo does not have a back on it, so open back, and I'm playing in what's called a claw hammer style. So every stroke is a downstroke.
Okay.
And your thumb is kind of hitting the drone string, so it'll hit the 5th string a lot, and then it'll drop down. So you're not using finger picks. You're not doing any upstroking. It's all downstrokes, and your hand looks like a claw. That's why they call it that. So it's a very different style, in an older kind of style. But it's real effective. It can be very melodic. It just adds a lot of character. The one song where it's the primary instrument is on "We Can Fall in Love Again." And that song we were going to throw that one out. I had envisioned that as kind of a Rodney Crowell type of country ballad, and I just could not sing it the way I was hearing it in my head. I just couldn't pull it off. And Ron really liked the lyrics and liked the feel of it, but we were both like, I don't know. He came to me one day and said, I think we're going to have to cut this one out. It's just not working. I said, I agree 100%. So one evening I was sitting there in the bathroom. That's my studio. I have a little bathroom I can go in and not bother anybody else in the house. So I was sitting there just playing the banjo a little bit, and I started singing that lyric, and that version came out. So it's like, wow. I turned the phone on, recorded that, and sent it to Ron. I said, hey, how about this? And he immediately got back and said, dang, it's back on the list. And
somehow he made it work, huh?
Yeah, and then he had the idea to add cello, and we got Ron's daughter, Mira Costa, to sing on it. And it is nowhere near what either one of us was envisioning going into the project. And the cello, Ron knew a guy, Bob Webb, out in Oregon, and he sent it out to him, and he just nailed this cello part. And so open back banjo, old time banjo, and cello. And 2 vocals, and it's really a beautiful cut, I think.
Yeah. Oh, no, I agree. It's interesting. I like I like knowing that part of the story, because I wouldn't have known it was any different than the way you created it just now on the record.
Yeah, it's really different. I mean, it's crazy.
So it's it's a duet basically with Mira then.
Yeah, and again, the original feel was this kind of contemporary country ballad type, Rodney Crowell, Roseanne Cash, some.
No, I can picture a Rodney Crowell type of song. Yeah, totally different. Yeah,
but I just couldn't pull it off vocally the way I was hearing it in my head, and so.
It's interesting how that works. Some things probably you think are going to be easy, and then some. It's weird. It almost said the way you told the story. It almost sounds like that was it. It was over with. We'll just scrap it and.
Oh, it was. I mean, we had both
Yeah.
agreed like we're going to have to go back to the list and find another.
Can't wait to find out the ending to this. Like in the future, we fast forward a few months, we find out that this is people really taking to the song, and it becomes a big thing for you.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I guess let's get that in a soundtrack of a movie. We'll be good. See what you can do there, Dean.
So that's sort of the love song in the pack there, but which brings me to now you're a married man, correct?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, you've been married for a long time.
Yes. 26 years. Boy, you put me on the spot here now.
Well, that's okay. Nobody's counting except her, right? I always like hearing a good love story. Now, is she? What is her role, for lack of a better word? How does she support you in your endeavors, your dream to make music?
Oh gosh, she's super supportive. I couldn't ask for any more support. She. She'll critique things, and she's just, she wants to. She knows how important it is to me, and she's put up with a lot of practice sessions at our house, and they're mostly okay. She'll say that she'll get a little tired of hearing the fiddle sometimes when I'm working out something, but she likes the banjo and the guitar and the singing, and. I mean, she never says, no, they can't come over to practice tonight. She's always, she's very supportive of it.
Oh, what a sweet lady. Good. Oh, yeah. Is she musically inclined, or is she the non-musician?
Oh, well, she's a dancer. She was a ballet dancer from ever since she was young. She actually danced with the Richmond Ballet and
no kidding.
And in a non-professional company, but that's her passion is dance and movement. And we've tried to play. She can play a little bit on the fiddle and a little bit. I got her a dulcimer a few years ago, but we just can't ever quite get it to where we can play together very smoothly. And I can't dance, so.
Well, there you go. So you are a good fit together then. Yeah. I like the things that you were saying that she was saying. Oh no, they can't come over. Is like. Yeah, that's same over here. She's never denied me that stuff, but
that's great.
And I love what really is telling is you say the same phrase that I say and others have said. She puts up with fill in the blank.
Right.
That's what we are. I don't know what it is about us. Either I think we just want to honor our ladies, our wives, so much that we want to make sure that they're not being put upon.
Right.
And so it's nice when you have somebody who's like right there supporting you, as long as you're doing what you say, right? You know, not hemming and hawing about the whole thing.
Yeah. Now she was very, if she'd have had her way, this album would have come out a long time ago. I mean, she was always encouraging, but the right people come along at the right time, and I just, it kind of took Ron showing up and a bunch of different circumstances for the right mix, and hey, it's time,
Yeah, but to overuse a phrase, she believed in you, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or it still does. I mean, but she believes in you. That's an important thing. I just have to ask that because I think that's a crucial part. If you're in a relationship or you're married, that's got to be key. Otherwise, you're fighting each other's dreams. You're keeping each other from doing it. But you still got to hold down an anchor gig, a regular job.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like I'm out, gone all the time touring or anything like that. I mean, we're both super engaged in raising our kids and fortunate to be able to do that. And have a nice job that allows me a lot of flexibility to do things. So, it may have been different if I was never home and was out touring and making, $50 a night in some smoky bar and doing that for years on end. Maybe the support wouldn't be so. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned your kids. Now I know you had at least two because of the song. He reeled me in. You got any more?
Right.
Is that it? Well,
that's it.
These are the two.
My son's 22. He'll be graduating from college this spring, and my daughter just turned 19, and she's here at WVU as a freshman in college. And
I got a boy and a girl too, so that's that's another little thing that I always like bonding in some sort of weird way with my guests to make sure you say, hey, these are just everybody's like kind of we have our differences, but still, when it comes down to it, we all just want to follow our dreams, live our life, and do good by our families and stuff. So
exactly.
Well, that's good. Tell me a little bit more about some of these songs, because I think that one of them is a standout. Says You, Says Who, Says Me is one of these that.
You
is
like
that like
one?
a single maybe or a video?
That was that was the first single.
Yeah, maybe you could tell me about that, since I don't know what to say about that. It's a nice upbeat, sassy little song.
I like it's kind of sassy. I was having a conversation with myself about just struggles in a relationship and trying to face it matter-of-factly and just like, hey, honey, we got ourselves a problem here and we better figure it out. And so I was playing out this conversation, and I could hear, her saying, well, says who, who says we got a problem? And I'm like, well, I do. And then it just became kind of an exercise. I mean, there was an old song, and I'm oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on the performer. That phrase is not 100% unique. There's another twist of that, and I'm just drawing a complete blank. Probably from the 30s, 20s, 30s. That was along those lines, but not quite the same. But anyway, then it just became kind of a little exercise to, hey, where can I go with this, and how can I make a song about a serious topic kind of light and matter of fact? And we decided to put that, open the album with that. And a lot of people have commented on it. They're like, wow, it was a great song to open it with. It's kind of neutral. I mean, it doesn't really, it's not one of your sadder songs, and it's not, completely goofy, and it's not a angry song. It's just got a good beat to it, and Johnny's mandolin and the dobro are just killer, and makes you want to move a little bit.
It does, yeah. It's peppy. I always like a shuffling type of song too, and those are the fun ones to me.
Yeah, and the drummer Ahmed Solomon, he came up with the beat. We were working on it. He's like, "What about?" I think he called it his Bo Diddley beat on the chorus there. It's got the little kind of syncopated, and he's like, let's just try it that way a couple times and see. And we did. I was like, yeah, man, that really moves it along, you know.
My mom used to call that Ricky Ticky, like it's like
Oh,
a little bit of like a sort of little ragtime, a little bit of backwoods,
yeah. It's
Blue
got
Ridge
a
Mountain.
syncopated piece in there,
Yeah.
you know, that
Yeah.
because it was more straight ahead, just bluegrassy, the way we were doing it, and so that really added a nice change of pace to it, and syncopated bass and stuff.
Hey babe, we got ourselves a problem. Says you, says who, says me. We better play our lucky cards if we got 'em. Says you, says who, says me. Hey babe, I'm just trying to keep it honest. Like that day we stood up there and promised any day a hurricane will be upon us. Says you, says who, says me. Those days of bliss we used to share are a little hazy. Says you, says who, says me. How'd it come to this? Somehow, somewhere we both got lazy. Says you, says who, says me. Hey babe, we got ourselves surrounded. We let all our sharpest points get rounded. That flag of love we once held high will soon be grounded. Says you, says who, says me. Think that we can beat 'em. Says you, says who, says me. This pile of troubles ain't so smart that we can't cheat 'em. Says you, says who, says me. Hey babe, let's get our sleeves rolled up. Let 'em know we're here to stay, yeah, we're holed up. Make them sorry that they ever even showed up. Says you, says who, says me. Says you, says who, says me.
Yeah, some of these things that you have are nice. Like I said, it harkened back to a different era. It sounds like you were sort of influenced a little bit. What was it like growing up? I was wondering how music was incorporated into your life. I don't know if your parents
very
were
musical. Yeah. My dad was always he was very theatrical, and he was a big guy and always singing show tunes, and he was just always, he was larger than life kind of guy. And,
mm-hmm.
Always the life of the party and always singing everything. And he loved to be in plays and stuff. And his brother, my Uncle Jim, who I really didn't get to know all that well, was a fantastic singer. Oh my God. His voice was it was this rich, just velvety baritone voice. And he would sing all these old country blues and these old kind of, swing tunes from the 40s and 50s, and he was a really good, not fancy guitar, but just solid, and always was playing in the key of E. I mean, that was his key, and his voice just rumbled out, just the windows would rattle kind of stuff.
Oh, boy.
So that was an influence, hearing him, and then my brother was a really good singer, and my sister was a good singer, so I learned to play the guitar to accompany all them singing. So I'm learning show tunes on the guitar as a kid, I'm learning how to play all these things from, classic Music Man and all that kind of stuff.
That sounds interesting, putting it on a guitar and maybe doing it
yeah,
the way
so
you
I
want
learned
to.
my way around the guitar. I learned a lot of cool chords, and then whatever my sister was playing, she's 5 years older than me, and she had a huge record collection, and so John Prine, Neil Young, Kenny Rankin, whatever she was listening to was drifting down the stairs, and I was always trying to play along and figure out what that was. And then I got to college and really got into the bluegrass scene. I met some really really talented bluegrass pickers, and then it just kind of went from there. I was always taken with really good songwriting. I really got into Don Williams in college, the singer Don Williams, and just his songs were so good. And Merle Haggard's song, of course, Merle Haggard wrote most of his. Don Williams had a lot of people writing for him. You remember Dave Loggins? You remember Please Come to Boston for the
Oh, yeah,
springtime?
sure.
So Dave Loggins, wound up in Nashville writing hit after hit after hit for Don Williams and Alabama and all these big writers. And I just thought there's something about this guy's songs. They're smart. They're not just the same old stuff. They got character in them, and they got twists and turns, and they're not complicated, but they're intelligent. And I just really was drawn to that type of writing, and try to, I try to emulate that in my writing. I mean, I want stuff that people are going to be able to grasp onto pretty easily, but I try to make it a little different take on just my observations on things.
Sounds good. So so you did come from some music, and but you were the one to step out and pick up something and play. So that was the that was a little bit different than the singing around the house,
Yeah, nobody else. My uncle played, but my dad would play ukulele or whatever. But nobody else really grabbed an instrument and ran with it.
But did you play by ear? I noticed you were talking about listening to the albums and trying to play what they're playing.
I took so I played in band as well. I played saxophone. I played piano. I took piano when I was 6. So I learned to read music. On guitar, I took lessons for like maybe for like 6 weeks or whatever. A semester would have been when I was like 9. Well, I was probably 10. And I just couldn't stand it. The guy would sit there and play rhythm, and I would just pick out, Home on the Range or whatever. And I did not like, same thing about piano. I did not like music theory. There was something about it. I felt like I wasn't understanding it. And it was really frustrating to me. So I just, gravitated toward figuring it out by ear. But I didn't quit playing guitar. I just said, I don't want to take lessons anymore. I just want to figure it out for myself. And so
some people have heard me on this show that know that that's exactly my thing. I did the same kind of thing, and it just I don't know if it was that the attention span, or I just this isn't. You almost instinctively go like, it isn't a laziness thing or a disinterest. It's almost like you almost come to the realization that this isn't the way I'm going to learn it. I'm going to do it a different way.
Yeah. Because one of the guys I play with now, who's he's on the Redbud song, John Posey. John's a trained guitarist. I mean, he studied jazz here at the university. And, I try to get John every now and then, like, all right, talk me through the theory of this chord progression. And he'll, and he can do that in spades. And 20 seconds into it, I'm just like, I'm off on another planet somewhere. I want to understand it. And there are parts I do. It is funny when I'm playing guitar and trying to think about theory, I often envision a keyboard. And when I'm playing on the piano and trying to improvise, I'm kind of thinking of a guitar fretboard. So I don't know. It's like diagramming sentences in English. I just could never do that. There was something in my brain that just did not want to do that. I feel like it's the same with music theory.
Somehow in school when they're asking you to do that, you got to do it their way. But in music, you can sort of you can take the path that works best for you.
And I wish I did know more about it. I wish I could have stuck with the theory part. Agreed. I think it would help, but I don't know.
My way was that, much like what you're doing with like what you were mentioning with the Redbud song, that it's nice to have another person in the mix who knows what he's doing and has his way of doing it. I don't know, in the proper fashion, with charts and everything like that, and that he can go do his thing, and then you can sort of find a way to work together in a synergy. That's what
It
I
was
did.
kind of funny on that song. I'm doing the rhythm guitar on there, and what informed me about that music was like the songs my uncle would play. These songs from the 20s, Nick Lucas, and those great guitar players who were crazy good, but they were not using every possible substitution they could have. You know, it was pretty basic structure, and so I recorded it. And one of the guys whose studio we use is a very good jazz guitarist, and he laid down a lot more changes, of the chords, and it sounded wonderful. But I'm like, that's just more than I want, and then the bass player on there is a crazy good Nathan Wilson, crazy good jazz bass player, and he kept doing these complicated jazz lines, over these changes. And finally, once everybody realized, it was like, all right, we don't need that much stuff. I'm going for this 1920s kind of vaudeville vibe. I'm not going for Larry Carell, every chord change you could possibly throw in between here and there, even though it all sounds great.
Yeah.
That's not what I want. And so, everybody was able to kind of adjust, but it's just where their heads were and what they play today. It's, there's a lot more moving parts in that stuff.
Yeah.
So we kind of had to back up and rethink that one.
So that particular one was more like you said, 20s, 30s vaudeville era, or even like Django Reinhardt, all some of that old time.
Yeah, probably not even
playing.
That fancy, but yeah, I mean, Nick Lucas is
a good example. Yeah.
I mean, I could just see somebody singing that in a black and white movie from the 20s. That's kind of the vision I had, and that's what I'd hear my dad singing, and so and I think Julie Adams did a wonderful job on the vocals. It's almost like this Andrews Sisters. She did a 3-part vocal in there.
Oh, sure.
So it's just kind of got that feel to me. So that was nostalgic for me to get that one in there.
There's beauty to be found in each and every day. Sometimes winter gets me down and all I see is gray. But I know the earth will take a tilt, and it won't be long until the gray gives way to springtime spilt in waves of color across the hills. Nothing says it's springtime like the redbud. Nothing brings more pleasure to my eyes. Nothing's quite as awesome as that little showy blossom. It packs a mighty wallop for its size. When I see them peeking from the hillside, my winter doldrums melt and run away. My heart does a little dance, it's a real kick in the pants. Nothing says it's springtime like the redbud. Nothing says it's springtime like the redbud. Sure, there's other trees take up more room, but those little heart-shaped leaves and the pods that look like peas make it my favorite Central Appalachian hardwood legume. Dogwood is delightful, no denying, and Sarvis shares a special standing too. But when my hibernation's done and I'm ready for the sun, nothing says it's springtime like the redbud. Nothing says it's springtime like the redbud. Although I have a problem with the name. Those flowers, don't you think they're more lavender or pink? Never mind, they're still sublime, just the same. When I see them peeking from the hillside, my winter doldrums melt and run away. My heart does a little dance, it's a real kick in the pants. Nothing says it's springtime, nothing says it's springtime, nothing says it's springtime like the redbud.
Let me sort of speed through this. I don't want to drag this out, although I am enjoying talking with you. I could do this a long time, but I want to. Tree Frog is the only instrumental I heard on there, and that's a nice little.
Yeah.
Now, I think that was inspired by something your son did. Maybe you could tell me.
Yeah, I was playing. I had come up with this melody on the banjo and was sitting there playing around with it, and he happened to call me while I was sitting there, and he was all excited because he had found a new boulder. He's a rock climber. And he had found a new boulder that he hadn't been to before. He didn't think anybody had climbed it. And so when you put up a new route, you get to name it. That's in bouldering. So he had named this route Tree Frog, and I thought, oh, that sounds like a good title for this tune. And so again, Ron's treatment of it's very different than the way I was playing it. The drums add a real kind of sense of urgency to it. I really like it. I think it's pretty cool.
Well, he's a true climber then. It sounds like, like just the way you described it. He found the boulder and he had to do it.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of those type,
That's his passion. He loves getting out in the woods, finding rocks. Yeah.
Tree Frog. So that's where that comes from. It's just, he named it. He named your song basically because you were inspired by that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Oh, This River, because that was an interesting, that's another, based on a true story. I thought maybe people would be interested in the backstory on that one.
Yeah, so in 2016, there was a bunch of flooding in southern West Virginia, and I was down helping with flood relief efforts, but my role was to play music, to be, there were a lot of like food shelter tents and stuff. People just come in from all over and they're serving food and, just trying to make sure people are fed. So the Presbyterian Church said, hey, would you come down and just play some music while people are eating, just to take their minds off what they're doing? And I did. And there was one woman sitting there at one of the tables, and she was just kind of staring off into space. And I just went over and talked to her. And she is a lifelong resident and had been through who knows how many floods.
Really?
And loved it, and just decided that she's like, I just don't think I can do this again, I love it down here, and I love the river, and when things are going well, it's great, but I just don't think I can take another flood.
Wow.
So that's I wrote that on the way home after leaving there. Yeah, so that one, I like that one. Of course, Bud Carroll did some amazing slide guitar on that. It's really, really gorgeous. Really brought that one to life, I think.
He's doing all the slide guitar on this thing. He's on a couple
Bud
other
Carroll.
tracks doing that too, yeah.
Yeah, that, and on Money Tree. He does some slide on that, yeah.
That acoustic stuff, right? The slide with the acoustic, right? Not hooked up to anything electric in there.
No. So the acoustic stuff is the dobro, and then Bud's doing the electric.
Okay, the dobro is probably slide. What I'm referring. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The dobro's peppered throughout. The two songs with electric slide are "Oh This River" and "Money Tree," and that's a guy named Bud Carroll, whose studio is where we started. We planned on recording the whole album at his studio, and then when COVID hit, we just all had to kind of switch up.
Okay, I didn't mean to mix these guys up.
Oh, that's all right.
That's where somebody would pick up their thing and knock me in the head and say, "Knock it off! I'm doing this. I'm doing this."
Yeah, and then there's a song on there. You were talking about West Virginia a little bit. "Life Without Me." And that's one of those songs. A lot of people listen to it and they're not quite sure what it's about, but it's in my mind, in a lot of people's minds, we need to get away from fossil fuels. It's just the planet's not going to make it. if we keep turning that direction. And there's a lot of vilification of coal miners and vilification of the coal industry. And so I just wanted to kind of put this in a matter of fact, like, hey, you know, I benefited from a strong coal economy as a kid. I went to college, you know, because my dad had a busy dental practice, because people had money to go to the dentist, and they had money because there was a strong coal economy. But, you know, there's also been a lot of downsides that have come with that. And so I just wanted to write a song that was just trying to lay it out there. It's not vilify anybody and not, you know, take a holier than thou kind of attitude. It's just like, hey folks, collectively, you know, we got to figure out a better way. We got one little planet here that we're all on, and you know, this stuff doesn't stop at country borders and state borders and county borders, and we better figure it out. And so that's all I'm trying to do in that song. So.
And who's the me in Life Without Me?
It's fossil fuels.
There you go. Okay, so you're getting sort of a face to it, or a voice.
Yeah, and not the first one to do that, but I think maybe the way I've done it's a little different.
Yeah. So no anger there. I'm always thinking about the.
Yeah,
What I think of is just that you're being thoughtful on all these things. You know, you're giving somebody.
You.
It doesn't mean you have to agree with any of these things, you know, but some of them are just fun. I like. Let me just sort of skip to one I wanted to talk about was Streets of Danville. I just wanted to compliment you on that was a nice happy one. Now, hopefully, I'm not. Deluding myself in that maybe that's not supposed to be happy, or
no,
is it?
That's a happy one. Yeah, that's about my wife.
That's beautiful.
I was doing a tree planting job down in southern West Virginia. We were early on in our relationship, and I was away for a week and just missing her like crazy. And true story. I mean, Danville's a little teeny coal town down just 30 miles from where I grew up, and we were down planting trees on a big old mountaintop removal site as a research project. And every night we'd go home and we'd eat and hang out, play music. Then I'd go back to my hotel room, and then I'd kind of toss and turn all night thinking about her. So I'd just get up and walk around Danville at all hours of the night. Just
well, they didn't have phones out there, or what? Could you get on the phone and talk with her? Or?
Oh yeah, but okay. Yeah, this was no cell phones or anything. This was back in the 90s, and I wasn't going to call her at 3 a.m, you know.
Oh, so. Okay, there you go. Yeah, well then that's the proper way to do it. You don't want to.
Yeah, so
you probably welcome it, but you know, he says, "Hey, could you call when I'm awake, maybe?"
Yeah, I mean, I'd talk to her when we get back to the hotel, you know. But it was literally, I was up just wandering around. All right, I'll just go out for a walk and poke around.
But that's another one of those, you know, much like the Says You, you know, it has that little hopping, skipping, shuffling beat, and I like that.
Yeah, that's a real upbeat. Yeah,
I guess I'm partial to that. You know, you could be singing about. One of these angry subjects, and put it to that beat, and I'd still be.
No, they're not angry. They're not angry, Dean. They're just observations.
Oh, you know, I'm just being a smart aleck on this kind of stuff, but lots of fun. Plus, a little tongue in cheek. You did a little Sunday morning stoplight. Was another one of those songs that was. Sounds like that was inspired by something true too. You know, like somebody told you a story, or you? Yeah.
I've actually got 2 songs about stoplights, and I played one night, and the guy came up to me afterwards, and he was just like, you know, somebody ought to write a song about these Sunday morning stoplights around here. I'm sitting there all by myself, and I want to run it, but as soon as I do, you know, I'd get caught, and it's just not the right thing. You know, so it was just, I really wrote it just as a fun thing for him, because I knew I'd be playing this little coffee house again at some point, and I just wanted to be able to say, hey Jim, you know, here's a song I wrote for you based on that comment you made last year. And It's funny, he has yet to hear it. The guy that inspired it, he's been to like 5 shows of mine, and he's missed it every time.
Yeah, but it's on his radar. He knows it's there somewhere.
Yeah, maybe he'll hear it here in Morgantown on stage.
Most of the time, this stuff is unscripted, so I'm trying to think up the questions on the fly. Hopefully, I asked you intelligent stuff enough. It's hard trying to concentrate sometimes on that.
Sure, I bet.
Especially when we're, you know, I don't have the technology on me to play these songs one by one, go track by track and say, hey, what do you think?
Right.
But wonderful, wonderful instrumentation is more than I was expecting, because I think I had seen some videos that you might have posted of you doing like a live show, and it's you up on stage, and not the best mic'd quality.
They're probably cell phone videos.
Yeah, something like that. So that was my exposure, and I go, these sound good, but this is probably what the rest of the album's going to sound like. And no, it's Ron did a nice production on this whole thing.
Oh yeah,
he knows what he's doing. Obviously, this guy.
He does, and he had a great vision for it. And again, we had our moments, where I wasn't so sure, but he basically just said, look, let's just trust me. Let's get through it, and we can always go back and change stuff, but let me just do it this way, and as we were doing the final mixing, I was like, I'm not sure about that. And he would say, well, let me go listen to it. And he'd come back like, I think it should stay. And I'm like, all right. And then sometimes he'd go, I think you're right. I think we should drop that out, So it was I learned so much just about the process and kind of how to listen and how to think through, structuring the song. So it's interesting when I play now, Dean, I often just play by myself. The last show I did, I did a 2.5 hour solo show, and I'm playing, and I'm like, man, can you all hear all that stuff I'm hearing in my head? here comes the dobro solo. Y'all listen for that. So it's
some people will go along that ride for you, but the other ones are going like,
so it's kind of strange to hear him.
What's a dobro? I just hear him playing. But
so it's kind of interesting,
A little bit like the Dave Loggins thing that you were just talking about. That songs like that he was writing and singing. All you could do is you could strip that down to one instrument, a piano or a guitar, and it holds up. So
and it works. That's my goal. I mean, when I go out to play, that's really my litmus test. Is like, can I get up there with a guitar and a voice, or a banjo and a voice, and make this work? And if I can't, then I have to go back to work on that song, or I just I can't. And so that's one of the things that Ron liked. He said, these songs will hold up however we do them. They can be just you, or they can be this full band, or somewhere in between. So we've got a show coming up on March 26th, my CD release, and
excellent.
It won't be a full production, and I'll probably do some just by myself, and then we'll have some of those players, not all of them. And then on Mountain Stage, I'm on there on March 27th. It'll pretty much be me and my guitar, and maybe the band on one song at the end.
So most of your stuff will be your future shows will be there in West Virginia.
So the CD release is on March 26th. It's part of a series that Ron does in Charleston called the Woody Holly Concert Series. And that'll be a full-blown CD release party. And then on March 27th, I'll be on Mountain Stage, and that show will actually be up here in Morgantown. They do a couple shows a year here in Morgantown. They're usually in Charleston the rest of the time. So that'll be, and boy, that's going to be a great show. I mean, Beppy Gambetta's on there, Janice Ian's on there. So I'll be shaking in my boots a little bit on that.
Yeah, well, don't be intimidated. You're just another player who's just like them,
Yeah.
They've just been doing it longer than you have. That's all. So
yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Well, nice to hear. You mentioned banjo earlier. Just a side note, when how was it hard learning how to do the banjo? It's a simple instrument, but you're not playing the same chords.
I play fiddle. I've played for a long, long time, and it took me a lot of fits and starts to get the fiddle to where I finally could do it. Mm-hmm. And it took me a lot of fits and starts to get the banjo. And about 5 years ago, I work on them, so I repair them and stuff. But I could just never get out of the finger picking mode because I finger pick guitar.
Yeah.
And finally, about 5 years ago, my wife asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I said I want to get that open back banjo right there because I got to learn to play this thing. And it's like everybody told me, he said, if you just spend a week just sitting there doing this one move with your hand, it'll get it. And then once that happened, the rest of it just kind of comes pouring out. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a,
So it's sort of
really
it just one of those nights it just sort of happened, right? You're like, oh, I'm playing it now. It's
yeah.
actually working out. You hung in there with it.
There's a right hand exercise. I mean, if you're right-handed, there's a right hand exercise you do, and you just do it over and over, and you don't even worry about fretting. I mean, you put a mitten on, and it just, it's just this motion. And once your head kind of gets it, then the left hand just kind of now I'm playing guitar basically, but I've just got a different right hand.
Maybe it's the posture. You weren't you saying that you do the claw hammer style when you do that?
Yeah, and it's it's completely opposite of finger picking. So once I had to get my head like, okay, I can't pick up. I've got to. Yeah, it's not fingers moving up; it's my whole hand moving down.
So your head and your body knows I have a different instrument now. I'm going to play it this way. Yeah.
Yeah, and once it clicked, then that's. I mean, everybody that plays will tell you that. Just keep doing it, and you'll wake up one day and your right hand will do it. You won't be thinking about it, and it does. It's like, wow, there it is.
Now, you familiar with John McEwen? I've interviewed this guy a couple times.
Certainly.
Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and all those. Yeah. I talked to him a couple times about I asked him once about the banjo because it just fascinates me. Because I remember a friend of mine had one I picked up and I couldn't play it because I was going like, this doesn't feel right. I can't play it like a guitar.
Well, having that high string on top is.
Yeah, weird. That's the one that I think he. I'll have to go back and because now I'm forgetting what his answer was, but he answered that thing about that fifth string and how you tune everything and it's a high drone string. I mean you're always coming back to that. Your thumb just basically rests on that. Is that right?
And just pops off of it. Yeah, so it's.
I guess I'm jealous because it seems like it's almost like a parlor trick. You either know how to do it and if you can pick in a. Like Scruggs or do like Steve Martin would used to say, I'm going to do Foggy Mountain Breakdown. Here we go. It's like,
and I can't play 3-finger style. I tried that in college forever, and I just can't get those rolls down. But I'm a decent finger picker on the guitar.
Well, once I find out I can't do that, then I'll just strum it. I'll just do the Dixieland stuff.
There you go.
Well, good. This has really been fun. I was looking forward to this because it's a different. I grew up more R&B rock and roll type. In the 70s and the 80s. That was my style. So, truth be told, I was kind of raised on folk music with my dad. He loved he had some Phil Oakes, Pete Seeger. Some Kingston Trio. I mean, I have. Between the two of us, we had probably about 10, 15 albums. By them, and it was just that's where I would enjoy that banjo and the guitar playing together, and it was it's little things like that. So I'm no stranger to that, but there wasn't a lot of that on pop radio, so I wasn't depend on who they are. Every once in a while there's a breakout hit, but I enjoy it. The older you get, the more you appreciate different styles, and then you sort of drop the other ones. You figure I've had enough of those genres, but then you start to explore other stuff. So. Yeah, and your kind of stuff is what's more down home, so to speak, and more authentic to me. Basically the songwriting and everything like that. So that's just my compliment to you. I really appreciate hearing what you had to offer, and I wish you all the success with this new album. Yeah. All
right, Dean. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your part in helping get the word out.
Any advice that I know you're just starting out, so. For intents and purposes, you're starting out because you got this brand new album, but you seem to have never given up doing it with the help of a loving lady at your side, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But any advice if somebody were, you to take some young guy under your wing and say, hey, just go with, you got any advice?
Pearls of wisdom.
Yeah, exactly. Have you gleaned any?
Just write and think about what you're writing. Analyze. I mean, I don't analyze tons of songs, but there are like, why do I keep coming back, to this song that I love, by whomever it is. I mean, Don Gibson, in my mind, was one of the greatest country songwriters ever. I mean, that guy could say more in 10 lines than I could in 50. And so it's just, what is it? What are these guys doing? What they're, there's a trick. And I'm not a real big formula songwriter. I probably am kind of structure wise, but just, read a lot, look up lots of words, read the newspaper, pay attention. There's stuff happening all around you. I know people go, well, I don't know what to write about. I'm like, man, just, go read the newspaper. There's you don't have to make anything up. It's all there. I get a lot of inspiration from listening to radio stories. I'll hear a story on the radio and I'm like, oh man, that's a great line, and it's not that somebody put it out there as a line for a song. It's just something they said.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that really had a nice ring to it. That would make a great opening line for a song or a great hook for a song. So writing and playing, getting out there, just get out there and play and see how people react. People react to good stuff. If you're playing and you just feel like, man, nobody's listening to any of this stuff, you might need to think about it a little bit more about why aren't they listening? Is it just a bad room or is it boring stuff?
All right.
I don't know.
I like that. That's like I always enjoy these answers from guys, like even on the spot trying to come up with some wisdom. That's like the secret sauce, or the that's the one ingredient in the kettle of chili that needed pepping up, and you did it. You that ends the show with a big bang, and I appreciate that. Yeah. So if people want to, if they're interested, they can come find you. I'm sure you got a best way to get in touch.
Yeah, they can just, website's easy. It's CHRISHADDOXmusic.com.
Spell that, please. The Haddocks part.
Yeah, CHRISHADDOX. All one word. CHRISHADDOXmusic.com. They can find Chris Haddocks Music on Facebook. They can just find Chris Haddocks on Facebook. That's but I'm pretty easy to track down. They can find me at West Virginia University. If they can't remember quite that, they can say, hey, there's some guy named Haddocks at WVU. Let me go find him. Yeah.
And that's you too. Okay. So
I'm easy to find. Yeah.
That's the thing about when the internet started to break through, and you find out how many people have your name, and then you better hope that they're all good people, because
and there's the YouTube channel and Spotify, things, Amazon Music. It's starting to get out there. I mean, I've only got one single out now, but once the album comes out, it'll be on all those platforms.
Get prepared for the landslide. It's going to happen. I know it is.
Well, I hope so.
Well, you put out some quality stuff. As long as you had a good producer run. Now you just need to carry it the rest of the way and let.
We got a great team. Team of people. And Mike Farley's doing PR stuff, and Lisa Gray's doing airplay, and I couldn't ask for a better collection of people to be trying to move this thing down the field. It's everybody's just so genuine and nice and easy to work with, and no egos, and just excited and fun. Let's see what we can do with it. So it's really fun.
Great. Chris Haddocks, he has a self-titled album. It's called Chris Haddocks. It's out March the 25th of this year, and please go check him out. We've been talking all about it. You're going to hear clips in this show. What more can I say? It's been a slice of heaven, West Virginia, as they say.
Thank you. I'll tell you, the first video's coming out this Friday. I didn't talk about that.
Okay.
So my next single comes out Friday. And it's the last cut on the album, Soul Can't Rest in Peace, Beside the 4-Lane, and we have a music video to go with that one. So that'll all be out on Friday. It's the 18th. Yeah.
Okay. Little visual, give you a little something to think about as you're listening to the song.
You can see some beautiful West Virginia in that video. Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, always wanted to go there. This is a good way to. Chris is a good window into this fine state, and. Yeah, I know my wife and I are fixing. She's retired now, and one of these days I'll be, and we'll be driving through your state one of these days, because we're going to hit all of them.
You'll love it.
I've been there once, but when I was just little, so I need to check it out and see how things have changed. And
right,
Chris Haddocks, I wish you all the success. I hope I get to talk to you another time.
All right, anytime, Dean.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Take care of yourself, and thanks again for spending the time with me.
Sure thing. Thank you.
All right. Have a good rest of the day, sir.
Bye-bye. You too. Bye-bye.